As the fighting rages in Syria, thousands of refugees cross the country's borders each day in search for safety. As part of ShelterBox's response to the Syrian refugee crisis, response team members Stafford Sumner and Ian Neal travelled to Jordan to assess the need.
Jordan's received 50,000 refugees from Syria in the month of January.
We've seen numbers increase 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people coming through each night.
Nagwa, Reem and Hanadi all left Syria together. They each have children and feared for their safety back home. Like so many others, they have experienced a traumatic journey.
حاجة الآن ما عاد نحسن هددونا ذبح قدام بعيد الكبير بعيد الآخر عيد قال بدهم يعطونا عملوا مزرة فيها عيد الأضحى ضحوا بالعالم.
Sana is 5 years old. Her sister Namla is 11. They left Syria with their mother after troops surrounded their town. They are much safer in Jordan, but they all miss home.
طبعا أنا مشتاقة لبيتنا يعني تعب 25 سنة راح بالأرض يعني شو بدي أحكي يعني أنا من سكان أهالي دارية بتعرف هلا إنها 80 يوم محاصرة دارية يعني.
The Syrian refugees have a pretty horrific crossing from Syria into Jordan. They tend to move by night for their own safety. There's been reports of sniper fire, guards trying to resist them crossing the border. Here they're met by the Jordanian army that ensure that they're safe. They're then transported by the IOM to Tari, where they're registered with the UNHCR.
With current refugee camps moving towards supplying Syrian families with caravans for accommodation and providing their own tents for a transitional period, the SRT had found an unmet need for shelter elsewhere.
We had spoken to the Brigadier General, who's in charge of the border security in Jordan. He had watchtowers every 10 kilometres going across the border there, where they're regularly receiving refugees each night.
The border security guards will monitor the refugees as they cross the border from their watchtower, and as soon as they've crossed over into Jordanian territory, then they'll deploy a small troop of guys to go out and collect the refugees in vehicles and bring them back to their watchtower outposts that are dotted along the borders.
They receive them, look after them until they can be transited down to one of the more permanent camps. Now, one of the situations that we have there is that we're in the middle of nowhere, and you're looking at about 3 hours to get to the nearest road from the point they cross over. And if they've had lots of rain, bad weather, like they have done recently, these refugees who've crossed into Jordan could actually be stopped at one of these watchtowers for 24, 48 hours until they can get tracked vehicles out across the desert to pick them up and take them back to the road, where they can then be transited down to one of the major camps. So they are waiting around in the elements. It's very flat, very open, very windy, very cold, sub-zero temperatures at night.
Even when guards gave up their bunks to Syrian families, many still had to face sleeping out in the open air.
There was an absolute need identified for shelter boxes to be used as these temporary transit facilities at the borders.
After the refugees have crossed the border and just experienced that horrific journey, their first sort of safe haven is by the tents from ShelterBox. They're able to remain as a family, remain together, get out the elements. There's some warmth there with the thermal liners. So it's the first time that they can really relax and feel safe. The tents will receive many families and offer protection after their horrific crossing.
No one knows when the crisis in Syria will end. Until it does, ShelterBox will be seeking out new avenues to provide the aid when and where there is a need. ShelterBox relies on public donations. It's your gift that makes this possible. Please give what you can to ShelterBox today to help families affected by disaster.